In over half a century of acting, Jimmy Stewart has appeared in over 80 motion pictures. For a man who never intended to become an actor, his Beverly Hills mansion is filled with hundreds of acting awards, including the coveted Oscar. He makes acting look easy, but few people realize that Stewart is a worrier, a man who works long and hard at his craft. He can be humorous.
Now, just a second, don't you dare. Madam, you can't do that.
Tough. Bashful.
What a dream I was having.
Well, you just keep right on dreaming.
Or brazen.
Yes?
This is the bridal suite. Would you send up a couple of caviar sandwiches and a bottle of beer?
What? Who is this?
This is the voice of doom calling. Your days are numbered to the seventh son of the seventh son.
His hesitant drawl and nervous, awkward manner have made him famous. But it's his ability to capture the homespun image of the boy next door that has made him unlike any other actor in the history of motion pictures. Audiences have come to respect him as a man who stands up for what he believes in, and we see in him what we want to see in ourselves. A decorated war hero, in real life promoted from buck private to general, Jimmy Stewart believes in America. A superb performer, he has become more than a star. He has become a screen legend. James Maitland Stewart was born on May 20th, 1908, in Indiana, Pennsylvania, where the Stewart family had run a hardware business for over 50 years. Young James would hang out at his father's store, where he entertained customers, playing the accordion and performing magic tricks. Stewart's acting developed during his undergraduate years at all-male Princeton University, joining his fellow students in the Triangle Club. Although he majored in architecture, he was actively involved in student theatrical productions. After graduating in 1932, Stewart was invited to join a theatrical group on Cape Cod. What began as a summer diversion became the starting point of Stewart's professional acting career. Shortly after Stewart joined the troupe, the play he was cast in moved to Broadway. After 3 years of working in the theater, Stewart's big break came in 1935 when he landed a screen test at MGM. The MGM studio brass were impressed, and they added him to their rapidly expanding roster of talent, even though they weren't quite sure how to use the gangly Ivy Leaguer. He was given his first screen role in 1935 in The Murder Man. As Shorty, the reporter and sidekick to Spencer Tracy, audiences were introduced to what has become the most famous Stewart trademark, his speech pattern.
Yep, the chauffeur drove up to the Regent Apartments, and the doorman discovered that Halpert was very fatally dead.
In 1938, RKO cast Stewart in the film Vivacious Lady. He plays the shy and bumbling professor who falls in love with vivacious Ginger Rogers.
Do you think things out there?
Things? Well, what things?
Just things.
You mean small things or important things?
Oh, everything.
Well, if they're small things, I never do, but if they're important things, I never do either.
Oh, I think you ought to think them out, don't you? Because lots of times the small things develop into very important things.
Yes, but you just think things out and they happen anyhow.
Well, what? You mean there's some things you just can't control?
I don't think you can control anything.
Although later in the film, he and Rogers marry, they fail to tell anyone, a situation which leads to mass confusion.
Darling, would I be too much of a bore if I suggested you break off your engagement to that girl?
Well, Francie, dear, the engagement's broken. There's no question about that. She doesn't know anything about it, but I just want to take one thing at a time.
Did you get your ring back?
I never gave her a
You
ring.
don't have to bite my head off about it.
Oh, no, sweetheart, here we are quarreling in public and nobody even knows we're married.
That's it. We can't even quarrel in public because you won't tell them we're married.
Well, on the other hand, if we want to quarrel in public, why shouldn't we quarrel in public?
Well, all married people quarrel in public. That's one of the nice things about being married.
Well, certainly.
Certainly.
With Vivacious Lady, Stewart began to build his popular image as the boy next
Well,
door.
why don't you tell them?
That same year, Columbia cast him in You Can't Take It With You, directed by Frank Capra. In the film, Stewart plays the son of a wealthy businessman who wants to marry a girl from an eccentric family. When he takes Jean Arthur out to dinner, he decides to exhibit a few eccentricities of his own.
Oh, I feel a scream coming on right now.
You know, we'll have to face it sooner
Oh,
or
yeah,
later.
it's starting right down on my toes. Sort of a tingling sensation.
Now, look, we can
Now
right
it's
until
coming up
that's
around my
the
knees. My legs are traveling faster and
Tony.
faster and faster.
You're not really going
It's
to
in my
scream.
stomach right now. I'm afraid it's got me, Alice.
Not with your
Now it's
mother,
going
you
up
Tony.
and up and up and up. It's all over my body now. Here,
No.
it's right in my throat now. What I can do is fighting to get out. I can't hold it any longer. Here it goes.
One of Stewart's first real dramatic moments on screen occurred when his character breaks into his boss's house pleading for money to save his baby.
Judge Doolittle. Judge Doolittle. Come on, wake up. Wake up. Judge, I'm sorry to wake you up like this.
What is it?
I got to talk to you right now.
Are you drunk?
No, my kid. He's in the hospital. He got pneumonia.
You must be drunk, waking me up in the middle of the night like this. It's outrageous. I've never heard of such a thing. Mason, if this is your idea of celebrating...
Put it on.
I knew you. Now, you listen to me.
Now, you listen to me. When you asked me to take that cock down to the office, I took it, and I didn't beef about it, but I should have. Because that's the reason the baby has to sleep in the dining room.
What are you talking about?
My baby's in the hospital dying of pneumonia.
What?
Dying. Can't you understand?
Dying?
Yes, my baby.
Your baby?
But the film that made Jimmy Stewart a star was also made away from MGM. It was Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Although considered the bumbling newcomer to the Senate, he winds up fighting for honor and decency in governing the nation.
But of course, if you've got to build a dam where that boys' camp ought to be, to get some grants to pay off some political army or something, that's a different thing. Oh, no. If you think I'm going back there and tell those boys in my state and say, look, now, fellas, forget about it. Forget all this stuff I've been telling you about this land you live in is a lot of hooey. This isn't your country. It belongs to a lot of James Taylors. Oh, no, not me. And anybody here that thinks I'm going to do that, they got another thing coming. That's all right. I just wanted to find out whether you still had faces.
The role of Smith effectively exploited Stewart's features and firmly established him as one of Hollywood's major stars and earned him his first Oscar nomination. At long last, MGM put Stewart into one of their own major films, The Philadelphia Story. Stewart plays an aspiring author who earns his living writing lurid exposés of the rich and famous. When he is sent by Spy magazine to get the lowdown on rich girl Katharine Hepburn, he unexpectedly falls in love.
Eyes and your voice and the way you stand there and the way you walk. You're lit from within, Tracy. You've got fires banked down in you. Hearth fires and holocausts.
I don't seem to be made of bronze.
No, you're made out of flesh and blood. That's the blank, unholy surprise of it. Oh, you're the golden girl, Tracy. Full of life and warmth and delight. Oh, what goes on? You got tears in your eyes.
Shut up. Oh, Mike, keep talking, talk, will you?
No, I've stopped.
Why? Has your mind taken hold again, dear Professor?
Good thing, don't you agree?
No, Professor.
All right, lay off that professor stuff now. Do you hear me?
Yes, Professor.
It's really all I am to you, is it?
Of course, Professor.
Are you sure?
Why, yes, of course. Golly.
Saying it was the happiest moment in my life, Stewart graciously accepted the Academy Award for Best Actor in the Philadelphia Story. In that same year, Europe was embroiled in war. Although America was not yet involved, German divisions were sweeping across the continent, and the Battle of Britain was raging. A patriot, Stewart tried to enlist in the military, but found that he was underweight, much to MGM's relief. While making the film, Stewart was secretly on a weight-gaining diet. In March of 1941, 9 months before the attack on Pearl Harbor, he finally got his wish. He enlisted in the U.S. Army as a buck private.
I'm afraid I'm a little out of practice at this appearing before the camera. About 3 years ago, the first day I got into the Army, I was asked to make a statement for the newsreels. And as I remember, I said, I'm very proud to be here, and I'm going to do my best to be useful as a soldier of the United States Army. Well, the statement still goes, except now I have my own outfit, a heavy bomber squadron. So we are very proud to be here, and we're going to do our best to be useful as soldiers in the United States Army.
After having commanded more than 20 bombing missions over Germany, he won the Air Force Medal and the Distinguished Flying Cross. In 1945, when the war was over, he left active service with the rank of a full colonel. But he remained in the Air Force Reserve, eventually being promoted to Brigadier General in 1959. After the war, Stewart returned to Hollywood and gave one of his finest performances in It's a Wonderful Life. As George Bailey, Stewart is a man who feels his life has been worthless, so he decides to commit suicide. But an angel arrives and shows him the difference he's made in the lives of the townspeople.
You a hypnotist?
No, of course not.
Well, then why am I seeing all these strange things?
Don't you understand, George? It's because you were not born.
Well, if I wasn't born, who am I?
You're nobody. You have no identity.
Oh, what do you mean, no identity? My name's George Bailey.
There is no George Bailey. You've been given a great gift, George. A chance to see what the world would be like without you.
The housing development he helped get off the ground would never have existed. His wife would have been an unhappy old maid, and his brother would have drowned as a child.
Your brother, Harry Bailey, broke through the ice and was drowned at the age of 9.
That's a lie. Harry Bailey went to war. He got the Congressional Medal of Honor. He saved the lives of every man on that transport.
Every man on that transport died. Harry wasn't there to save them because you weren't there to save Harry. You see, George, you really had a wonderful life.
Bailey comes to realize that his life has had meaning and asks for a second chance.
Get me back to my wife and kids. Help me, Clarence, please. Please. I want to live again. I want to live again. I want to live again. Please, God, let me live again. Hey, George! You all right? Hey, what's the matter? Now get out of here, Bert, or I'll hit you again. Get out of here. What the Sam Hill you yelling for, George? George. Bert, do you know me? Know you? You kidding? I've been looking all over town trying to find you.
One evening, the 41-year-old bachelor attended a dinner party hosted by Mr. and Mrs. Gary Cooper. Sitting next to him was Gloria Hattrick McLean, a divorcee with 2 sons. Stewart felt he was being set up, but he fell for it. On August 9, 1949, Gloria McLean and James Stewart were married. The Stewarts moved to a large, vine-covered Beverly Hills mansion. And on May 7, 1951, they became the proud parents of twin girls. For a man who once said the only reason he had a house was to have a place to sleep at night, Stewart readily took to family life, becoming a model husband and father. Shortly after his wedding, Stewart gave what many considered to be one of his finest screen performances. Recreating his role from Broadway, Stewart played Elwood P. Dowd in the film Harvey. As Elwood P. Dowd, Stewart's best friend is Harvey, a 6-foot-tall, invisible rabbit.
And now, Aunt Ethel, I'd like you to meet Harvey. Harvey, you've heard me speak of Aunt Ethel Chauvenet. She's one of my oldest and dearest friends. She's the one who...